Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz, and today on the show, we have a special guest. He is the host of Bleav in Lions on the Bleav Network, a fourth-round pick in the 2009 NFL Draft who earned a Pro Bowl and an All-Pro nod as a safety for the Detroit Lions. Glover Quin joins me on the show today. Welcome.
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm fired up for this matchup coming up between the Lions and the Seahawks. I don't know how fired up I should be. It's we're off to a 1-2 start. Lions are off to a 1-2 start. I want to hear from you. How are you feeling going into this week's game?
I'm a little perplexed right now. I'm a little perplexed. I don't really know. The Lions have looked great. They've played hard, played with great energy. But like you said, they're 1-2.
Right.
And Sunday we saw a few things. We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get an ankle, and that seemed to slow him down a little bit. DeAndre Swift had an ankle or a shoulder or whatever it is, seemed to slow him down a little bit. And that seemed to slow the offense down a little bit. And I don't know if that led to Coach Campbell not going for it on 4th and 4 and with 3 minutes to go in the game when you've went for it 6 times. I think they were 4 for 6 on 4th down. So you went for it 6 times throughout the game. But when it came crunch time and you needed that one play, I don't think Minnesota even had timeouts. You needed one play to seal the game. You decided to kick a 54-yard field goal or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those two guys being injured played a role in that. But I'm a little perplexed going into this game because I don't know how those two guys are going to be going into this game. The defense lost Tracy Walker, the leader in the secondary. Right. So that's a big hit for those guys. So I just, I don't know. I don't know if defensively, we saw Aiden Hutchinson not really do much in week 1, had a monster game in week 2, didn't really do much in week 3. I don't know if it's his thigh or something was bothering him or the way they're blocking him, but he didn't really do much in week 3. So that would mean that he probably going to do more in this week going off that trend, but it's just hard. It's hard to tell right now. So I don't know exactly who's going to show up. I really don't. So I think as the week go on, we'll see how guys are feeling, who's ready to play, who's ready to play at a high level. But I think you guys having, 2 receivers in DK and, TJ Lockett, that could give us some problems, especially, like I said, losing Tracy Walker. And then, historically, you guys have had a decent defense, struggling a little bit this year, especially getting off the field. But, I mean, without DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown,
right,
could be easier for you guys.
Yeah, that would definitely make it easier because with Amon-Ra, man, he has been tearing it up. What was it? 8 straight games of 8 catches or more and 6 straight games with a touchdown. And if he's not able to make it, obviously that streak goes away. And yeah, that connection. And I mean, I think as a Seahawks fan, we saw a lot of Jared Goff, obviously, during his time with the Rams and now in Detroit. And it just feels like having a guy like St. Brown has been, it's definitely made a difference. And I mean, he had Cooper Kupp in LA too. So that's kind of been that role, I feel like, having St. Brown out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a really good vibe. And, Amon, he does a lot of great things for that offense. I mean, he does it all in the pass game, in the run game. He's in there blocking. He's been lead blockers. He's getting put in those situations. And when you put him in there and he shows that he's willing and he wants to lead block, well, then now you can do different things with him. You can put him in there and you can end up handing him the ball. You can put him in there and they can do play actions and he can sneak through the line and end up on the other side of the field because you got to respect him as a blocker, but you also got to respect him as a receiver. You got to respect him as a runner because they will hand him the ball. So him not being 100% really hurts that offense. But him and Jared Goff, they seem to have a connection. They seem to be, in full swing when he's healthy. I mean, we saw, once he got injured And he had a third down where I think he was on the linebacker, where I mean you assume that he's gonna beat that and win that matchup every time. And he did have the linebacker beat. Jared Goff threw a ball that gave the linebacker a chance to make a play on it. But those should be easy pitch and catches. And I think if Amon is healthy, that's an easy first down conversion. So him being hobbled definitely slows that offense down.
So if he's not able to go, who do Seahawks fans need to worry about in terms of the receiving core for the Lions?
You know, that's I mean, if they're looking for somebody to replace Amon, a guy that could have a similar type of skill set could be the returner. I think his name is Khalif Raymond.
Okay.
He's a really good returner. So you would think that he could play in the slot. He can get open. He can do some things like that. He's a returner, so you can hand the ball off to him. He can run the ball. I'm pretty sure if he's a special teams guy, he probably don't have a problem getting in there, blocking, and doing some of the things Amon can do. I don't think he will be as good as Amon, obviously.
Right.
But if they're looking for somebody to potentially, fill that role, it could be them looking for Khalif Raymond. But outside of that, I think you're gonna have a huge dose of Josh Reynolds. I mean, you still got DJ Chark in there,
Right.
and I think the biggest thing will be they're gonna have to get TJ Hawkinson more involved in the offense. He's a high first round draft pick for you a few years ago. You're gonna have to get more out of him, especially if Amon and DeAndre Swift are hobbled.
So going back to what you were saying earlier, just about coming out of this game against the Vikings and how you're feeling about the team overall, I noticed quite a few similarities based on the Seahawks team and what we've seen, apart from the injuries on offense. We haven't had to deal with that, but obviously Jamal Adams went out in the first game of the season, and so they're dealing with that on defense. But in terms of coaching decisions, I mean, Pete Carroll, he had a 4th and short call where it looked like they were ready to go for it, but then ultimately they took a timeout, decided to kick a field goal. Then you see them end up, they lose the game to the Falcons, even though they do have an opportunity to go and drive the length of the field and score at the end of the game. But Pete Carroll not going for it nearly as much as the Detroit coach, but still there's that one point to it. I'm kind of curious though, with this loss to the Vikings, I do sense a lot of frustration from Lions fans. Where do you think most of that blame is going toward? Is it going to the defense for giving up some key plays? Is it going to the offense, or is it going to the coach?
That's tough. I think
Who
a
do
lot of
you
times
put the blame on, Glover?
I think at this point, I don't really like blaming coaches because coaches just coach, players play the game, right? We play the game. I don't like the call that Coach Campbell made last week by kicking the field goal, because even if you kick that field goal and make it, you're still down. You're only up by 6. A touchdown and an extra point still beats you, right? I don't like, and I don't. I just the feeling of they doubled Justin Jefferson a lot of the game.
Right.
Once they saw Adam Thielen coming alive, I didn't really see any adjustments to, hey, we don't have to double Justin every time. Make them figure it out once the ball is snapped, who's doubled and who's not doubled. But if I know you're doubling Justin every single time, well then, yeah, we're gonna scheme up things for Thielen. We're gonna scheme up things for Osgood, and we're gonna get those guys in one-on-one situations, and they're gonna have to win. So I didn't like some of the adjustments that were made. At the end of the day, players got to make plays. Players got to make plays. But from a fan's perspective, I think they're probably gonna blame coaches.
Yeah.
From a fan's perspective, because the defenses, they're gonna feel like, maybe they didn't get put in the best situation. They're going to feel like offensively, well, DeAndre Swift got hurt. Amon-Ra St. Brown got hurt. So that's the reason why they slowed down, things of that nature. So I think the coaches are going to take the blame from the fans. Like I said, I don't like to blame the coaches because players play the game. But I didn't like those two things from the coaches in the last game.
Right. And still, you have a 6-point lead. So you kind of expect the defense to hopefully make a play. And like you said, they'd handled Jefferson so well to that point. I'm curious though with the Seahawks game. There's been the share of blame going around, and some of it going to Geno, which Geno Smith, quarterback for the Seahawks, which I understand to a degree, just because he's kind of the guy behind center, and he had a couple throws where maybe you hope that he hits on, but I know I have a hard time blaming Geno a whole lot with the situation that he's in, and he's actually, I feel like, exceeding expectations for what people expected going into the season. And then there's the defense, though, which historically for a Pete Carroll defense, obviously, going back to the Legion of Boom era, been able to put together a solid defense. It seems like, though, they get off to a slow start every year. And I don't, as a guy who played defense, is there any reason that you can give that as to why a defense may start the season slow?
I would have to say probably the amount of reps and how they're practicing during training camp and not playing in the preseason, because generally the defenses are always ahead of the offenses early, because defense is, simple, it's reactive, it's things that, you just got to go out and play. Offense is a little more timing, it's play calling, it's schemes. So sometimes the offenses come along a little slower than the defense. So for the defense to start out slow, like I say, I think a lot of it has to do with how they're going through training camp. But
Right.
obviously, you guys, sustained a major injury in week 1 with Jamal Adams. So that could have a lot to do with, you guys as well.
Yeah. Losing
Inserting new
Bobby
players,
Wagner, I
losing
suppose,
Bobby,
but
right? I was about to say, losing Bobby. Now you got a new voice in the middle of the defense, right? So just a lot of little things like that when you got Quandre, right? Quandre Diggs coming off an injury. So in the offseason, I don't know how much he's practicing in OTAs, if any, right? Coming in training camp, I'm sure they were bringing him along, making sure he was good, right? You lose Bobby, right? So now a lot of your voices that needs to be there in the offseason, in training camp, who knows how much they are there, right? Who knows what's going on? So now you get some of these inserts, these new kids, new players, new people coming in, and it may take them a little bit to gel, but still, you would expect, if you got a dominant D lineman, he's just going to be dominant, right? If you got a
right.
dominant rusher, you can insert them tomorrow and they should go be able to rush the passer. If you got a dominant corner, you should be able to lock him up and tell him to cover. So maybe they're just not the Legion of Boom anymore.
Well, I mean, they're definitely not that anymore, especially with, I mean, so many of those guys. I think all of them are gone. I
Yeah,
think
all
the
those
one
guys
guy
are gone.
that we maybe hope to come back, KJ Wright, ended up signing a 1-day contract in the offseason, and he's not coming back. Although I think we could still use him.
No
But you
question.
brought up Quandre Diggs, and that was a guy that you played with in Detroit. Your time overlapped there a couple years. He was elected Seahawks team captain for the defense. Did you have any kind of reaction to that when you saw that?
I mean, I was excited for Quandre. I mean, obviously he's a major part of that defense. And then, especially when you lose a guy like Bobby Wagner, a voice, a veteran leader, having somebody like Quandre who's a leader, who's gonna step up, who's gonna say what needs to be said, good or bad. He's gonna play hard for you. You know that he's made a couple Pro Bowls. Just signed a big deal to be back in Seattle. So he's definitely one of those guys that they look to, they lean on, and he has a great personality to be around the guys. A lot of guys like him, a lot of guys across the league like him. So he's a great guy, he's a great ball player. So it was super cool to see him become a captain of the defense. And I think, that's something that he understands the magnitude of that role. And I think coming off an injury as he had last year, going into free agency, being uncertain about how it would go, for Seattle to still believe in him, give him a contract, and now he's a captain of that defense. I think that speaks volume as to who he is as a person and who he is as a player.
Any good Quandre Diggs stories from your time together?
Oh man, Quandre is my guy, man. I just leave it at that. He's my guy. But I will say, I knew from the first game that I ever played with Quandre that he would be a great player because I remember we was playing at that time they were the San Diego Chargers. And, a lot of times when you're a rookie, you kind of just do whatever the playbook says to do, right? You just, hey, the playbook told me to go here, so I'm going there. And they had a formation, they were doing some things, and we were calling a lot of nickel blitzes. And so as a safety, it was forcing me to come down to cover the slot. Well, they were scheming us, and so they just kept running a bunch of bubble screens, but they were moving the slot way out wide. So they could see when Quandre was getting ready to come on the blitz and when I had to come down. So they were making us uncover. So I got to a point where they called the same nickel blitz, but instead of me going down to cover the slot, I was like, Quandre, hey, switch it. Like, hey, you just stay on that guy, and then I'm gonna take your blitz. And just in the middle of the game, he did that like it was nothing.
Mm.
Right. So a lot of times rookies won't do that. They don't understand it enough to do that. So for him to be able to, in the middle of the game, just be like, all right, cool, I got this and this and that. So he understood what the defense was. He understood how they were trying to scheme us. And, he trusted his veterans. Right. Hey, coach, I know what you're telling me to do, but I'm on the field with this guy, and this is what he told me to do. So that's what I did. If you got a problem with that, you need to go talk to him. Don't talk to me. You need to go talk to him. So that's kind of his personality, and it worked out well for him. And he was a humble guy, wanted to learn, wanted to play hard, but always demanded his respect. And now he's earned his respect. He has his respect amongst players in the league, and so he's doing good.
Well, one more question before we get on out of here. I don't know how this season is going to go. I hope that we have a winning season, but obviously making the transition from Russell Wilson at quarterback to Geno Smith, we don't know ultimately how that's going to play out for the season. It could be a rebuilding process for the team, obviously making that transition and maybe looking toward the future for a new quarterback. During your time in Detroit, how do you keep that winning mentality going as a player as you go through that type of process?
You know, when you're a winner, you continue to do things that make you a winner. Now, football is a team sport, so yes, you alone can't win the game, and it gets difficult, right? It's very, 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 very hard to win in the NFL without a quarterback. It's almost impossible to consistently win without a quarterback. Yeah, you may get a win here and there, and you see that with you guys, right? You won first game, everybody's excited. Russell's coming back, Geno's excited, the team's excited, the fans are excited. We got to go and win this game. So everybody chips in and does every single thing that they can to win that game. And you haven't won since. Why? Geno hasn't played great. What's happening to the other guys, right? So then you guys start getting frustrated. It's a long season, right? So how long is it going to take before DK just blows up? Because he has a reputation, right? He's a big time player. He should be scoring touchdowns and doing all types of big things. So if you're not seeing that on a consistent basis, at some point you got to say, well, it's not DK. He's still big, strong, physical. Why isn't he doing that? Must be Geno.
Right.
They still got Tyler Lockett. He's still fast, explosive. He's not getting big plays. Why? Must be Geno, right? So then now you start having that doubt within the team,
Mm.
right? Players stop believing, right? Everybody want to believe in the offseason. Oh, he's gonna be the guy. Oh, he'll be straight. He'll be straight. You see him in practice. Oh, yeah, he's cool, man. He know the offense. He can make those throws. Cool, you can in practice. When you get in the games and you're playing against the other good players in the league, can you consistently do it? Like I say, you can do it 1 week. Can you consistently do it week in and week out? And I think over the course of Geno's career, he's shown that that's tough. He'll have a good game here or there. He'll do some things to help you win a game here or there. But can he lead you to the playoffs, especially in a tough division like you guys have? I just don't see that happening. And I think once players start to see that, then their belief factor goes down. So now they know, I mean, man, we 1-2 after 3 games. right? We got who y'all got this week? Y'all got the Lions coming up this week. If we don't beat the Lions, man, we might as well hang it up for the season. We're gonna be 1-4, 1-3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to keep that like we're gonna win when you're constantly losing. Yeah, as the good players, you're still trying to do everything that it takes to win, get yourself prepared to play. But you just start to slowly lose hope and the belief that you're actually gonna win because it's really not happening.
Spoken like a defensive player. I like it that even in retirement, that your mind automatically goes to it being the offense's fault and not the fault of the defense at all.
No, I'm not saying that because I think,
No,
back
you were
when you
putting the
guys,
blame on Gino.
well, like I say, it's hard to win without a
I know.
quarterback.
Yeah.
That puts a lot of pressure on the defense. Offenses are really good. Offenses are really good in this league. So if you can't control the game, I think that's one of the things that we're seeing with Philly. It is so much easier to play defense when your offense can control the game.
Right.
The best defenses that I've played on, the offenses controlled the game. When Wade Phillips came over and we switched to a 3-4 from the 4-3, we had Arian Foster, running game, Matt Schaub, play action passes, Andre Johnson, Owen Daniels, guys that can move the chains and control the game. I remember we played Pittsburgh one year and we started the game off with a like 20 play drive for 95 yards and scored a touchdown. I mean, what do you think it's like for a defense to sit on the sideline for 20 plays while your offense goes and they don't just get a field goal, they get a touchdown, right? So now you're taking the field excited, energized, and you're up 7 points, right? It's very difficult when you go out there and you're playing against these offenses and you know they got great players, they got great quarterbacks, and you get a stop, right? You get a stop, no points, no field goal, no touchdown, and then your offense goes out there and turns the ball over.
Right.
Or your offense goes out there and go 3 and out. Now I got to go right back out there and stop these guys, right? So, yes, defense has a job to do, but it's so much easier when your offense can control the game. Just control the game.
Yeah.
Score some points, stay on the field, give us a break, get a couple first downs. We can play the field position game, do all those different things. But when you don't have the horses that you used to have defensively, and now you got to almost shut teams out, hold them under 10 points, these offenses are really good, man. They're really good. And so I feel like, as a quarterback, you're going to get a lot of the blame because, like I said, DK is still there.
Right.
Those guys are still there. You got good players. What changed? I don't know. The running back, maybe the O-line, quarterback.
Quarterback makes a difference.
Quarterback makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
He's Glover Quin, the host of Bleav in Lions on the Bleav Network. Glover, how do you see this game going coming up? Any predictions that you want to make?
Well, I was looking today and I said, you know what? It's very hard for me to make this pick right now because it's early in the week.
Right.
I don't know if I can make this pick until
got to see how St. Brown, if he's gonna.
I probably gotta wait till game time to see the inactives or like check it because if Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift are gonna be out or limited or hobbled, losing Tracy Walker hurts on the back end. I know they're gonna be home, but it's gonna be tough for the Lions to generate enough offense and get enough defensive stops to win the game. It's what you would think, right? It's hard for me to pick against the Lions, but I feel like as a troop, you can't expect the Lions to go undefeated. Like you can't expect any team to go undefeated. At some point, you got to say, oh, yeah, I don't want them to lose, but this could be a game, especially if this happened. And that's kind of what I feel. If Amon can go and he's ready, if DeAndre Swift can go and he's ready, then I think the Lions can. I think they'll beat Seattle at home. I think they'll have enough offense to keep their defense on the field, frustrate those guys, score points. And they can. Jeff Okudah is playing really well right now.
Yeah.
They can scheme up some things and slow down DK Metcalf, keep him off the from going deep. Tyler Lockett, those guys, get after Geno a little bit. And so I think it's gonna come down to the injury report that comes out on Friday. Don't look at the one today, but they probably didn't have one today. Don't worry about the one.
Wednesday.
Don't worry about the one tomorrow. You can look at it, but you may see a lot of guys out or limited or whatever on Wednesdays, because if they're going to give you an extra day to recover, it's probably going to be on Wednesday. So a lot of guys, you want to pay attention to Thursday and Friday. Those are the two, because Thursday is the big practice day. So most of the time, we'll give you a break on Wednesday, but Thursday is when we kind of gauge how you're going to be. Because if you can practice on Thursday, you kind of know, okay, after treatment, Friday, Saturday, little time, like I'll be ready to go by game time. If you can't go on Thursday, now it's tough, right? Because I got to just get to where I can go. And if I can't practice on Friday, well, now I got to go into the game. I haven't practiced all week. So Thursday practice, we got to watch the injury report. But if the Lions are healthy, I got them beating Seattle. If they're not, I think Seattle can get the win.
You guys going to be talking more Detroit Lions versus the Seahawks coming up on the show this week. If people want to check out the Bleav in Lions podcast, where they go to find it?
Oh, man, anywhere where you listen to your podcast. We're all over it. Social
He's
media.
Glover Quin.
Got the Bleav Network. We're everywhere, man. Wherever you listen to your podcast, find us and check us out.
He's Glover Quin, former Detroit Lions safety. Glover, really want to thank you for coming on and breaking down the game.
No problem, man. Thank you guys for having me. Look forward to a great game. The Lions will welcome Seattle and their fans to Ford Field.